Most people will die as the same person they were at 25, not because change is impossible, but because they've been programmed to believe that personality, circumstances, and potential are fixed. Society needs you to stay predictable, employers need you to remain manageable, and consumer culture needs you to keep buying solutions for problems that could be solved in 3 weeks. The uncomfortable truth is that you could completely reinvent yourself in less time than it takes most people to break a bad habit. But admitting this would collapse entire industries built on your belief in limitation. Your government, your education system, your workplace, even your family has invested in keeping you exactly where you are because your transformation threatens their control over your choices. Your time and your money, your life can completely transform in 21 days. Not 22, not 30, not someday when the stars align perfectly. 21 days. This is not wishful thinking or motivational fluff. This is biological fact. This is scientific truth. This is the way your Creator designed you to function. Elena Martinez worked the night shift at a textile factory for 12 years. Every evening at 6 o'clock, she would walk up the narrow staircase to her small apartment. Tired, defeated, believing that this was all life had to offer. Her routine never changed. Work, sleep, work, sleep. The same conversations with the same people about the same problems. The same complaints about money, about opportunities, about how life had passed her by. But something extraordinary happened on a Tuesday evening in September. As Elena climbed those familiar stairs, she noticed something attached to the fire escape outside her bedroom window. A small brown cocoon hung delicately from the metal railing. Most people would have ignored it, swept it away, or never noticed it at all. But Elena stopped. She had never seen a cocoon before. Curiosity overtook her exhaustion. She researched online and discovered that inside this unremarkable brown shell, a complete transformation was taking place. A caterpillar was literally dissolving itself, breaking down every cell, every structure, every part of what it used to be, and then rebuilding itself into something entirely different, something that could fly. The process takes exactly 21 days. Elena became obsessed with watching this transformation. Every morning before work, every evening when she returned, she would check on the cocoon. She started reading about metamorphosis, about how nature designed this incredible process. She learned that during those 21 days, the caterpillar releases enzymes that dissolve its own body, its muscles, its digestive system, its skin. Everything breaks down into a nutritious soup. But here's the miracle. Scattered throughout the caterpillar's body are groups of cells called imaginal discs. These cells carry the blueprint for wings, for antennae, for compound eyes, for everything the butterfly will become. On day 14 of watching her cocoon, Elena made a shocking discovery about herself. She learned that human cells regenerate completely every 21 days. Her skin cells, her blood cells, the lining of her digestive system, everything was constantly renewing itself. She was literally becoming a new person every 3 weeks, whether she realized it or not. The question was not whether change was possible. The question was, what kind of change was she choosing? This revelation hit Elena like lightning. For 12 years, she had been recreating the same person over and over again. The same thoughts, the same beliefs, the same limitations, the same fears. Every 21 days, her body was giving her a fresh start, but her mind was using the same old blueprint. She was like a builder who received new materials every 3 weeks, but kept constructing the same broken house. Elena began to understand something profound. The caterpillar doesn't try to become a butterfly while remaining a caterpillar. It doesn't attempt to grow wings while keeping its old body. It surrenders completely to the transformation process. It trusts the blueprint hidden within its imaginal discs. It allows the old self to dissolve so the new self can emerge. But here's what Elena discovered that changed everything. Unlike the caterpillar, humans have a choice. We can choose our imaginal discs. We can choose what blueprint our mind uses during each 21-day cycle. We can decide whether to recreate the old person or design someone entirely new. Elena started an experiment. She decided to treat the next 21 days like her personal cocoon phase. She would feed her mind different information, speak different words, take different actions. She would stop recreating the factory worker who had no options and start building someone who could fly. Every morning, instead of rushing to work with her head down, she spent 15 minutes reading about business, about investments, about people who had transformed their lives. Instead of complaining with her coworkers during breaks, she asked questions about their dreams, their goals, their plans for something better. Instead of spending her evenings watching television and scrolling through social media, she researched online business opportunities and took free courses for 21 days. Elena fed her imaginal discs new information. She spoke to herself differently. She walked differently. She thought differently. She was rebuilding herself from the inside out, just like the butterfly in the cocoon outside her window. On day 21, two miracles happened simultaneously. The butterfly emerged from its cocoon, spread its wings, and flew away. And Elena submitted her application for a small business loan to start her own tailoring service. She had discovered skills she never knew she possessed, confidence she never knew existed, and a vision for her future that was as clear as the butterfly's new wings. That was 3 years ago. Today, Elena owns a successful alterations business, employs 4 people, and has completely transformed not just her income, but her entire identity. She often tells people that the butterfly outside her window didn't teach her how to change. It taught her that change is the most natural thing in the world. Your body is already changing every 21 days. Your cells are already regenerating. Your physical structure is already rebuilding itself. The only question is whether you're going to participate consciously in this process or let it happen by default. Whether you're going to choose your imaginal discs or let your past choose them for you. You have a cocoon phase starting right now. Today, this moment, the next 21 days will pass whether you use them intentionally or not. You can emerge as the same person you've always been, or you can emerge as someone completely new, someone who can fly. The most powerful force in human transformation is not willpower. It's not positive thinking. It's not even determination. The most powerful force is having a clear blueprint of who you're becoming. Without a blueprint, you're just rearranging the furniture in the same old house. Thomas Williams learned this lesson in the most unexpected way 3 months ago. Thomas was sleeping behind a construction site in downtown Detroit. 42 years old, no fixed address, surviving day to day on whatever work he could find. He had given up on the idea that life could be different. When you're hungry and cold every night, transformation feels like a luxury you can't afford. But fate has a way of placing exactly what you need right in front of you when you're ready to see it. While searching through a dumpster for anything useful, Tomas found a rolled up set of architectural blueprints. Someone had thrown away the plans for a luxury home, detailed drawings showing every room, every measurement, every specification. Most people would have used those papers to start a fire or line their shoes. Thomas did something different. He unrolled those blueprints and studied them for hours, then days, then weeks. He had never seen architectural drawings before, but something about them fascinated him. The precision, the detail, the way every line had a purpose, the way nothing was left to chance. Every door, every window, every electrical outlet was planned before a single nail was hammered. Thomas began to understand something that would change his life forever. The architect who drew these plans never doubted that this house would be built. Every line was drawn with absolute certainty that it would become reality. The architect wasn't hoping the house might exist someday. The architect was designing something that already existed in his mind and was simply waiting to be manifested in the physical world. For 21 days, Thomas carried those blueprints with him everywhere. He studied them during lunch breaks from odd jobs. He examined them by streetlight when he couldn't sleep. He memorized every detail, every measurement, every specification, and something remarkable began to happen in his mind. He started thinking like an architect. Thomas realized that he had been living his entire adult life without blueprints. He had been building randomly, responding to whatever circumstances came his way, reacting instead of creating. He had never designed his life. He had never drawn detailed plans for who he wanted to become. He had never specified what his transformed life would look like. But those blueprints taught him something profound. Before any magnificent structure is built, it exists completely in the mind of an architect. Every detail is planned, every problem is solved before construction begins. The physical building is just the manifestation of what already exists in perfect detail in someone's imagination. On day 15 of studying those blueprints, Thomas made a decision that would change everything. He would become the architect of his own life. He would draw detailed plans for his transformation. He would design himself with the same precision and certainty that the architect had used to design that house. Thomas found a notebook and began drawing his own blueprints, not for a building, but for a life. He wrote down exactly what his transformed life would look like, where he would live, what work he would do, how he would dress, how he would speak, how he would think. He designed his daily routines, his habits, his relationships, his goals. He created detailed specifications for the person he was becoming. Just like the house blueprint specified that the kitchen would be 12 feet by 14 feet with granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. Thomas specified that his transformed self would wake up at 5:30 every morning, read for 30 minutes, exercise for 20 minutes, and arrive at work 15 minutes early. He didn't leave anything to chance. The power of having detailed blueprints became immediately obvious. Instead of wandering aimlessly through each day, Thomas now had specifications to follow. Instead of reacting to circumstances, he was building according to plan. Instead of hoping things would get better, he was constructing something specific within those 21 days. Thomas's entire approach to life changed. He wasn't just looking for any job. He was looking for work in construction because his blueprints showed him becoming a skilled carpenter, then a contractor, then a real estate developer. He wasn't just trying to find any place to sleep. He was positioning himself to rent a small room because his blueprints showed him moving systematically from homelessness to apartment to house to property ownership. Thomas understood what most people never realize. Your mind is constantly building your life according to some blueprint. The question is whether you've consciously designed that blueprint or whether you're using old, damaged plans that were drawn by your fears, your past failures, your limitations, and other people's opinions about what's possible for you today. Thomas owns a small construction company. He employs 6 people. He lives in a 2-bedroom apartment and is saving money to buy his first house. More importantly, he still carries blueprints with him everywhere he goes. Not for buildings anymore, but for the next version of himself. The person he's designing to become over the next 21 days. Thomas learned that transformation isn't about trying harder. It's about designing better. It's about creating detailed blueprints for who you're becoming and then building your life according to those specifications. When you have clear blueprints, transformation becomes as natural and inevitable as constructing a house. You're not hoping it might work. You're following a plan that's already complete in your mind. But having blueprints is only the beginning. You need to understand how transformation actually happens in your brain. You need to know why 21 days is the magic number. You need to understand the science of habit formation and neural pathway creation. Sophia Chen discovered this accidentally when her marriage of 18 years ended in divorce. At 45, she found herself living alone for the first time since college. The silence in her apartment was deafening. She had filled her life so completely with other people's needs that she had forgotten who she was when nobody else was around. One evening, While walking past a music store, Sophia heard piano music flowing through the open door. She stopped and listened. The melody was hauntingly beautiful, and for the first time in months, she felt something other than sadness. She had always wanted to learn piano as a child, but her family couldn't afford lessons. Now, at 45, that dream seemed ridiculous. Too old, too late, too difficult. But something inside her refused to accept those limitations. Sophia bought a small digital piano and decided to give herself exactly 21 days to see what was possible. Not to become a concert pianist, not to master complex compositions, but simply to see if her brain could learn something completely new at her age. The first day was humbling. Her fingers felt clumsy and uncoordinated. Playing a simple C major scale took intense concentration. Every note required conscious thought. Her brain had to tell each finger exactly where to go and when to press down. It was exhausting. But Sophia committed to practicing for 30 minutes every single day. No exceptions, no excuses, rain or shine, tired or energetic, motivated or discouraged. 30 minutes every day for 21 days. Something fascinating began to happen around day 7. The movements that required intense concentration on day 1 were becoming slightly easier. Her fingers were starting to remember where the keys were without her having to look. The pathway between her brain and her hands was getting stronger by day 14. Sophia could play simple melodies without thinking about each individual note. Her fingers had developed what scientists call muscle memory. The neural pathways in her brain had been reinforced through repetition until they became automatic. What once required conscious effort was now happening unconsciously. This is when Sophia realized something profound about human transformation. Her brain didn't care that she was 45. It didn't care that she had never played piano before. It didn't care about her limiting beliefs or her past failures. Her brain simply responded to consistent repetition by creating new neural pathways. It was designed to adapt, to learn, to transform at any age. On day 21, Sophia played her first complete song. It wasn't perfect, but it was recognizable, more importantly. Something had fundamentally changed in her brain. The neural pathways for piano playing were now permanently established. She had literally rewired her brain in 21 days. But the real transformation wasn't in her piano playing. It was in her understanding of how change actually works. Sophia realized that every habit, every behavior, every way of thinking operates through these same neural pathways. The voice in her head that said she was too old to learn new things, that was just a neural pathway created through years of repetition. The belief that her best years were behind her, another neural pathway. The assumption that she couldn't start over, just another mental habit that could be changed through conscious repetition. Sophia began applying the 21-day principle to every area of her life. She spent 21 days practicing new ways of thinking about herself. 21 days developing confidence. 21 days building new social skills. 21 days creating financial habits. Each cycle created new neural pathways, new automatic behaviors, new versions of herself. Most people fail at transformation because they quit before the neural pathways solidify. They try for a few days, maybe a week, then give up when it still feels difficult. They don't understand that day 21 feels completely different from day 1. They don't realize that their brain needs time to build the highways that make new behaviors automatic. Sophia now plays piano every morning before work. But more importantly, she understands that she can literally redesign her brain through conscious repetition. She has become the architect of her own neural pathways. Understanding neural pathways is powerful, but transformation doesn't happen in isolation. Your environment plays a crucial role in determining whether your new neural pathways survive or disappear. Most people try to change themselves while staying in the same environment that created their old patterns. This is like trying to grow roses in concrete. The residents of Maple Street discovered this truth when they transformed an abandoned lot into a thriving community garden in exactly 21 days. What started as an eyesore became a symbol of what's possible when people combine individual change with environmental transformation. The lot had been empty for 5 years. Weeds, trash, broken glass, and old tires covered the space where a house once stood. Children walked around it to get to school. Adults complained about it but assumed someone else would eventually deal with it. It was the kind of problem that everyone notices, but nobody believes they can solve. Rachel Montenegro changed that assumption. A single mother working 2 jobs. Rachel walked past that lot twice daily while taking her 8-year-old son Carlos to school one morning. Carlos asked why nobody grew food there instead of letting weeds take over. His innocent question planted a seed in Rachel's mind. That weekend, Rachel did something that surprised everyone, including herself. She started clearing a small section of the lot. Not the entire space, that would have been overwhelming, just a 10-foot square area. She removed the trash, pulled the weeds, and tested the soil. Neighbors watched from their windows, curious but skeptical. On day 2, something unexpected happened. Mrs. Patterson from across the street brought Rachel a bottle of water and started pulling weeds alongside her. They worked for an hour without saying much, but something powerful was happening. Rachel's individual action was creating environmental change that influenced other people's behavior. By day 5, 3 more neighbors had joined the effort. Someone brought tools. Someone else brought seeds. A teenager offered to help after school. The abandoned lot was becoming a gathering place instead of an eyesore. The environment was shifting from neglect to care, from isolation to community. Rachel realized something profound about transformation. Individual change and environmental change reinforce each other. When she changed her relationship to that lot from passive observer to active creator, she changed the environment. When the environment changed, it influenced other people to change their behavior. When other people changed, it reinforced Rachel's new identity as someone who makes things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. By day 14, the transformation was undeniable. What had been an abandoned lot was becoming organized garden plots. Neighbors who hadn't spoken in years were planning what to plant together. Children who once avoided the area were asking when they could help water the seeds. The 21-day timeline wasn't arbitrary. Rachel had learned from previous failed community projects that momentum either builds or dies within 3 weeks. If people see consistent progress every day for 21 days, they start believing the change is permanent. If they see sporadic effort or inconsistent results, they lose interest and return to old patterns. On day 21, the Maple Street Community Garden held its first harvest celebration. Lettuce, radishes, and herbs that had been planted on day 1 were ready to eat. More importantly, the people had been transformed. Rachel was no longer just a single mother struggling to make ends meet. She was a community leader. Mrs. Patterson was no longer an isolated elderly woman. She was the garden's master planner. So the teenagers were no longer just kids hanging around the neighborhood. They were junior agricultural consultants. The garden succeeded because Rachel understood that lasting transformation requires changing both yourself and your environment simultaneously. You can't just think differently while surrounded by the same triggers, the same influences, the same physical reminders of your old life. You need to create an environment that supports who you're becoming, not who you used to be. Your environment includes the people you spend time with, the information you consume, the physical spaces you occupy, and the activities that fill your day. Change your environment while changing yourself, and both transformations become easier and more permanent. Everything you've learned means nothing without action. Blueprints remain fantasies until someone starts building. Neural pathways don't form through understanding alone. Environmental changes don't happen through good intentions. Transformation requires committed, consistent action over 21 days. Not 20, not 22, 21 days of deliberate, documented, daily movement toward who you're becoming. James Rodriguez understood this when he made a decision that saved his financial future and changed his family's destiny forever. 6 months ago, James was drowning in debt. Credit cards maxed out, car payments behind, mortgage in jeopardy, and a constant knot of anxiety in his stomach every time the phone rang. He had tried budgeting before, attempted debt consolidation, even considered bankruptcy. Nothing worked because he had never approached financial transformation systematically. James was a mechanic at a local auto shop, good with his hands but terrible with money. His wife Lisa worked part-time at a retail store while managing their 2 young children. Together, they earned decent money, but somehow they always ended each month with more bills than income. They were caught in the cycle that traps millions of families, working hard but never getting ahead. The wake-up call came on a Tuesday morning when James tried to buy groceries and his debit card was declined. Standing in line with milk, bread, and baby formula. Unable to pay for basic necessities, James felt something shift inside him. Not desperation this time, determination. He was done being a victim of his financial circumstances. He was ready to become the architect of his financial future that evening. James made a commitment that would change everything. He would document every single financial decision for exactly 21 days. Not just track expenses. Anyone can do that for a few days. He would create a complete record of his financial transformation, studying his patterns, measuring his progress, and building new neural pathways around money management. James bought a small notebook and created what he called his financial transformation journal. Every morning before work, he would write down his financial goals for that day. Every evening, he would record what actually happened with money. Every purchase, every decision, every temptation resisted or succumbed to. More importantly, he would analyze why he made each decision and what he learned about his relationship with money. Day 1 was humbling. James discovered that he made financial decisions unconsciously dozens of times throughout the day. Coffee at the gas station instead of making it at home. Lunch from the restaurant instead of bringing food from home. Impulse purchases at the checkout counter. Small decisions that seemed insignificant individually but added up to hundreds of dollars each month. Day 3 brought the first breakthrough. Because James was documenting every financial choice, he became conscious of decisions he had been making automatically for years. The act of writing them down forced him to think before spending. His awareness was creating new neural pathways around money consciousness. By day 7, something remarkable was happening. James wasn't just tracking his spending, he was redesigning his relationship with money. Instead of seeing money as something that disappeared mysteriously, he was understanding exactly where it went and why. Instead of feeling powerless over his finances, he was becoming the architect of his financial blueprint. Day 10 brought the first major test. James's co-worker invited him to an expensive lunch to celebrate a promotion. The old James would have gone without thinking, putting the meal on a credit card and worrying about it later. But the new James, the one building financial neural pathways, made a different choice. He congratulated his friend and suggested a less expensive alternative. More importantly, he documented this decision and analyzed why it felt difficult but right. The documentation process was teaching James something profound about transformation. Change doesn't happen through dramatic moments or sudden insights. It happens through hundreds of small decisions, documented and analyzed, that gradually create new patterns of behavior. Each documented choice was strengthening his financial neural pathways and weakening his old patterns of unconscious spending. By day 14, James's wife Lisa noticed the change, not just in their bank account, though that was improving. She noticed that James was calmer, more confident, more intentional about everything, not just money. The discipline he was building in his financial life was spilling over into other areas. He was arriving at work earlier, organizing his tools better, communicating more clearly with customers. Day 18 brought the biggest test yet. James's car needed a major repair that would cost $1,200. The old James would have panicked, put it on a credit card, and spent weeks stressed about the additional debt. But James's financial transformation journal had prepared him for this moment. He had been setting aside money daily, building an emergency fund, planning for unexpected expenses. More importantly, he had developed the neural pathways to think strategically rather than emotionally about financial challenges. On day 21, James calculated the results of his transformation. In 3 weeks, he had reduced his spending by 38% without feeling deprived. He had saved enough money to cover the car repair without borrowing. He had created systems that made good financial decisions automatic rather than forced. Most importantly, he had documented proof that transformation is possible when you combine clear blueprints with consistent action and detailed accountability. But the real victory wasn't financial. James had proven to himself that he could commit to something difficult for 21 days and emerge as a different person. He had created neural pathways around discipline, documentation, and delayed gratification that would serve him for the rest of his life. James still keeps his financial transformation journal 3 months later, but now he's applying the 21-day documentation method to other areas of his life: physical fitness, relationship improvement, career advancement. Each cycle builds on the previous one, creating compound transformation that multiplies over time. You have a choice to make right now. You can continue recreating the same person every 21 days, using the same old blueprints, the same old neural pathways, the same old environment. Or you can start your transformation today. Not tomorrow, not next Monday, not when conditions are perfect. Today. The next 21 days are going to pass whether you use them intentionally or not. Your cells are going to regenerate. Your neural pathways are going to strengthen. Your environment is going to influence you. The only question is whether you'll participate consciously in your own transformation or let it happen by default. The butterfly doesn't negotiate with the cocoon. The architect doesn't apologize for designing magnificence. The pianist doesn't ask permission to create new neural pathways. The gardener doesn't wait for perfect weather. The financial transformer doesn't postpone accountability. Your transformation starts now, today, this moment. Choose your blueprints. Begin building your new neural pathways. Change your environment. Document your progress. 21 days from now, you'll be amazed at who you've become.